Ah, you came back. I knew you would. Because deep down, you're not afraid of the dark. You're afraid of the lies they've dressed in light. Look at them. Polished smiles, polite words, theatrical kindness. You've seen it all before, haven't you? The way they hide their hunger for control behind the mask of good intentions. The way they tell you who's righteous and who's dangerous, all while dripping with the venom they pretend doesn't exist. They call it light. They call it truth. But you've seen behind the curtain. You've watched them twist people into puppets, bowing before thrones built on lies. You've heard their sermons, their speeches, their rules, and you felt the rot hiding in every word. And you were never meant to join their little parade. You were born to ruin it, not by shouting, not by begging for them to change. No. You do it by walking straight into their sacred halls with the truth on your breath and fire in your veins. You weren't sent to comfort them. You were sent to expose them, to make the shadows they hide in shiver. But here's the part they'll never understand. The reason they fear you isn't because you're angry. It's because you're awake. You've peeled back the mask. And once you've seen the gears behind the illusion, you can never pretend again. Do you know what happens when someone like you refuses to play along? They'll call you dangerous. They'll smear your name. They'll isolate you. And when that doesn't work, they'll try to break you. And here's where the story flips, because you can't break what was forged in fire. You've walked through betrayal so raw, it carved your bones. You've watched people you loved become strangers in the blink of an eye. You've stood alone in rooms so silent it felt like the air itself wanted you gone. And yet, you're still here. Do you understand the weight of that? The people who worship this false light, they survive by gathering in packs, feeding on validation and fear. You've been alone long enough to know your own shadow by name. You've stared into the abyss without blinking. That's why you're dangerous. Because once you stop fearing their rejection, you become untouchable. They built their comfort on the assumption that everyone wants to belong. But you've burned that need to ash. You belong nowhere. And so, you can go anywhere. You can walk into their holy places, into the temples of their delusion, and simply stand there. And the walls begin to crack. And oh, how they will hate you for it. They will call you evil. They will call you lost. But here's the truth they choke on. You are the mirror they cannot bear to face. Because when they look at you, they see every compromise they've made, every truth they've buried, every soul they've betrayed, including their own. You are living proof that someone can walk away from their game and still win. So let them spit your name like poison. Let them rewrite your story in their own cowardly ink. Because every word they speak is another stone in the wall they've built to keep the truth out. And walls, my friend, walls have a way of collapsing when the foundations rot. One day, their light will flicker. One day, their thrones will shake. And when that day comes, they'll look around for the person who started the fire. They'll look for you, and you'll be standing there. Not as a savior, not as a hero, but as the storm they never believed was coming. Because you weren't born to blend in. You weren't born to kneel. You were born to expose the darkness they worshipped as light. And you've only just begun. And here's the part they don't understand. You didn't just survive their world. You studied it. You memorized the way they move, the way they smile when they lie, the way they twist words until truth suffocates in the corner. You watched their games so closely. You could play them better than they ever could. But you won't. Because your power isn't in becoming them. It's in making sure their kingdom falls without you ever kneeling to it. They live on borrowed time. Every fake blessing, every hollow sermon, every light they pretend to hold. It all runs on a fuel they can't refill without the people they fool. And once the people really see what they are, the fuel runs dry. That's where you come in. You are not their enemy because you scream louder. You are their enemy because you exist, because you are living proof that someone can walk away from the counterfeit light and still find the real thing inside themselves. And nothing terrifies a false king more than a free man. But freedom isn't comfortable, is it? It's not a golden throne. It's not applause. It's waking up every day knowing you might walk alone into places where the air is thick with lies and you have to breathe anyway. It's knowing that truth doesn't make you popular. It makes you dangerous. And you, my friend, were built for danger. You've bled for it. You've been laughed at for it. You've been called delusional, bitter, ungrateful, even cruel. But all they're doing is proving your point. Because when truth stands in the room, lies have to shout to drown it out. One day they will choke on their own noise. One day the crowds will scatter. And in the smoke and silence that follows, you'll see their precious light for what it really was. A flickering candle in a world set on fire. And when the fire clears, you won't be the one picking through the ashes, searching for a crown. Because you never wanted it, you came to burn it. They will write songs about the collapse. They will tell stories about the day the darkness was unmasked. And in every whisper, every rumor, every frightened memory, your shadow will linger. Because you weren't just born to expose the darkness they worshipped as light. You were born to remind the world that no matter how deep the night gets, truth always knows the way home. And that is a war you already won. Then listen carefully, because this is the part they will never teach you. When you tear down what was never real, you are not destroying the world. You are setting it free. They will call you merciless. They will say you take pleasure in the fall of others. They won't understand, because they were too invested in the illusion to imagine life without it. But you've lived outside their gates. You've seen the horizon beyond the walls they swore were safe. You know the taste of air that isn't poisoned with flattery and fear. You didn't come here to convert them. You didn't come here to beg them to see. You came to make sure that when the truth finally cracks through their stained glass lies, there is nothing left for them to crawl back to. That's why you walk like you do. Calm, steady, unstoppable. Because you know something they don't. False thrones do not collapse because someone screamed at them. They collapse when the foundation realizes it's been holding up a corpse. And here's the secret no one will admit. The reason they tried so hard to dim you, to shame you, to twist you into something else. They knew you were the living proof that light does not need permission to exist. You were born with the kind of vision they fear most. You can see the cracks in their crowns. You can hear the hollow in their words. And you will never, ever pretend not to notice. So when you walk away tonight, leave without looking back. Not because you're cold, not because you're cruel, but because the ones who choose the dark must be left to feel it fully before they'll ever seek the dawn. And when they finally come crawling out, eyes burning from the brightness, they'll remember the one who didn't flinch, the one who stood in the fire and smiled, the one who didn't come to save their throne, but to burn it, so the world could finally see the sky again. That is why you're here, not to comfort, not to join their feast, but to remind them There's only one thing stronger than a lie dressed as light. A soul who has seen the truth and refused to bow.